So can you guys tell us where we are?
Corbin Creek.
Where is Corbin Creek?
Shoot. It's...
So we're at Corbin Creek Nursery today in Springfield, Tennessee. Corbin Creek Nursery is north of Springfield. The Corbins have been longtime Robertson County farmers. They've been growing tobacco for probably since time began. They transitioned from tobacco in the early 90s and started growing hemp. They've had a long time vegetable and bedding plant growing, lots of stuff in here. So can you guys tell us where we are?
Corbin Creek.
Where is Corbin Creek?
Shoot. It's... I don't know.
What town do we live in? Let's start there.
Springfield.
Springfield, Tennessee, right?
I thought you were asking for the address.
It's 4920
Yeah.
Highway 161, Springfield, Tennessee, Robertson County.
You know, I can never remember all the numbers of the roads.
I was like, I'm trying to think of the name of that road out there. Is it 41 or 49 or 431? I never can remember that. It's the Barren Plains Road. If you can remember the name of all these roads, you're special.
I'm like, that's the road to Barren Plains, or that's the road to Adderable. But
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I do know with the business, I have to know our address.
it always helps if you know your address.
And then everywhere else, I'm like, well, just go to Cross Plains or go to White House or go on, Barren Plains, just go down there.
So can you tell us about your family and your farm? I was like, our families have known each other a long time.
Along back to your great-grandparents.
So that means you've been here for a minute, or your family's been here for a minute.
Always. This is home. Home.
And what do you all do here?
We have greenhouses. We grow flowers, lips that people put in their gardens. We grow hemp. We grow vegetables. We've got about 5 acres of produce for the Robertson County Farmers Market that we have every Saturday. Starts the first Saturday in May and goes through the last Saturday in August from 8 until noon at the fairgrounds. These are my nephews, my youngest brother. These are his 14-year-old triplet boys. They are my chopping garden helpers for the summer, and they have endured this heat. 105 heat index plus this week.
Probably better than the rest of us.
Well, we wear big hats, we wear lots of sunscreen, we drink lots of water, and we respect the heat.
Yes. Part of the reason we do this is because I like to tell stories about where we are and where things are going or where we came from. And one of the things that people are always intrigued about is that people have lived here for generations. And they ask lots of questions about, well, how do you farm in one place for generations? And I tell them it's like the farms, just like the people, evolve over time. So what made money in 1928 does not make money in 2000.
Correct.
It does not. It does not even exist.
Correct.
Because like my grandmother, and I think your brother and maybe your dad worked at Halen Cotton.
Yes,
Yes.
their father, my youngest brother Warren, was the CEO of Halen Cotton for years until these three came along, and he is now the assistant principal at the middle school.
So it's like how families like continue to evolve, because
Yes.
Halen Cotton was one of the major leaf distributors of dark fired tobacco. Correct? I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dark fired and burley. And then they started the overseas markets, yes.
And tobacco has changed because we live in Robertson County, and we all once upon a time at least had an acre of tobacco.
I grew up on a tobacco farm. My summers were spent, you remember you used to sow your plant bed.
Yeah, like scatter the little tiny
Scatter
seeds.
the seed, pull a canvas to shade them, and then around the plant bed you planted radishes. And then when it was time to set tobacco, you went to the plant bed, you pulled very carefully those plants. You had a bushel basket turned up on its side. Plant beds were in the sun, but they were beside a woods line, because those plants went in that basket turned up on its side. You laid them in, and they stayed in the shade to keep as much wilt off of them as possible. But of course they wilted. That was pulling plants.
Yeah. Did you guys set tobacco, or did you peg? Did you
We
do it by
set.
hand? You had a tobacco setter.
We did. I did. Have I ridden a setter? Yes.
Everybody, and you get all that stuff on your legs, and it's cold and
Yes.
dirty and nasty.
But hey, we use a tobacco setter. My brother will be using a tobacco setter if we don't get rain later today, setting hemp. So we don't discard or throw away. It goes in the warehouse or in a tool shed. We make do with what we have.
Yeah, that's what my granny used to say. Use it up, make do, or do without.
Exactly. Waste not, want not.
Yeah, it's a big thing, and I think it's interesting because you guys are one of the few family farms that are still on your family land and farming your family land. It's like not too many folks are left that are still on their home places.
We're blessed.
Mm-hmm.
We are blessed.
And I think it has a lot to do with your innovation, because you guys have been willing to make changes when other people have not.
My brother Bill has been, once I lost my dad, he's been gone 15 years ago. He has been my motivator, and he says we have to diversify. We have to remain diversified. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, and you've done a really good job, because it's like they're you, and then I think Miranda Head at Head's Produce that are actually raising produce in Robertson County, raising food in Robertson County and selling it in Robertson County.
And the Hancocks also.
Right. Yeah. I always forget about them, and they're my next door neighbors.
They're your neighbor.
I know. It's like, wait, that's where I go shopping all the time.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But like, I think it's important, especially as times are changing, that we are able to like go and visit farms. And you know, if gas is going to be $20 a gallon next week,
I know,
we need to have some local food crops.
I was privileged enough to pay $5.29 a gallon for gas the other day. I was like,
You must have been on the other side of town.
No, I was in Springfield.
Oh, at Dean.
I was. I like their gas.
I always
because
get their gas.
It has no ethanol in it.
Yeah, you get real gas.
It's real gas. Yes. So.
And they'll pump it for you.
They do. Yes.
And I think it's really cool that you have the kids out here helping, because so many kids don't have the opportunity to learn anything. You know, they think their food comes from Kroger's.
They know. You hear the cattle bawling out there. What has happened? A bunch of mamas stayed in this side pasture, and then part of the cattle came. They have to come around to this pasture, and their calves came with this, and now they're standing at fences bawling at each other. They understand stuff like that. Mm-hmm. We had a school group yesterday, and they were from Innovation Academy, Springfield Middle. Some of them. And they came out, and they were amazed. They were like gonna pick we went to the garden first to talk about produce, and they were gonna pick the squash blooms, and I'm like, no, that's where the fruit comes from. There's Frank. Frank is the resident donkey, and Frank is on Facebook a lot. Everybody loves Frank. There's a long story. Frank is old. Another farm down in Barren Plains that used to be all cattle. 2 years ago, that was turned into row cropping. So Frank, my brother thought, going and feeding every day, because that's where he had lived his life. would be content. No. The sheriff's deputy pulled up last summer and said, your donkey is coming down 161. And I'm like, Frank? I mean, that farm is way back at the end of H.B. Lee Road. So it's not on 161. So I called my brother William and I'm like, you got a problem. Frank is coming down 161. But this is country living, people. This is fun. So I had to call Dennis and Jill Morris to come with their horses and trailer because Frank is wild. He was adopted years ago from the Burro Rescue. Brought him up here, he moved in, and what was once a wild donkey within a year will eat carrots out of your hand at the fence. So,
And his name is Frank.
Frank, the most fun of everything was drinking out of a hose pipe. I'm like, that's how we drank. That's what we, growing
We
up.
all did. It's like,
To us, that was life. But to most children now, they've never gotten to experience that. And so they got to drink out of a hose pipe. They're like, is this clean? I said, the same water that comes out of that hose pipe comes out of your faucet at home. Yes, it's city water. But to them, that was
it's like, I have some friends that moved here from New Jersey, and I was like, it was hot, and I was like, we're going to go to the creek. And they're like, we're going where? We're going to go to the creek? And I said, yes, we're going to go to the creek. So we had to have like a 20-minute block of instructions about what you wear to the creek.
right.
Because they wanted to know, like, do you wear a swimsuit? Do you wear clothes? I'm like, it doesn't matter as long as you're not naked. Just put on something. It's like,
Yeah.
we'll go. And I was like, but you have to wear shoes in the creek. And they're like, why do you wear shoes in
So
the
you
creek?
don't step on rocks.
Exactly. You know that. Or there's glass. It's like,
Yeah.
On another farm that my mother owns on Kinney's Road, they have a Sulfur Fork runs through the bottom of that farm, and they camp out there. They have a big campsite, and they spend most of the summer in the creek.
and
There's a cave.
There's a good cave.
Yes, ma'am.
Beans Cave is there too.
Can you climb up in there?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you gone up in the cave?
We haven't gone too far
'Cause
yet.
It gets to
but
where
we
you
need
have
to
to crawl on your stomach.
Yeah.
We need to
I'm
get
out.
the right.
I'm done.
equipment.
I don't do caves.
I'm out.
We're
There's
gonna
bats.
do it, but we need to get the right equipment for it first.
There's bats. We like to catch the bats.
You catch the bats?
Yes, ma'am. And
What do you do
when
with
it's
them?
colder, just let them go.
Let them go. Yeah.
They're cute, aren't they?
Yeah, they're real
They have the
small.
little-
They're like
they have
this
little
big.
hands.
Yeah. I just like take my sweatshirt off or something and grab them so they don't bite me. It's pretty fun.
I'm not doing that.
Ain't that how you get rabies, getting bit by a bat?
That's
Yeah.
why I have the sweatshirt around them.
It's like,
And then we saw last time we went out to the creek. I think it was last weekend. We saw 5 or 6 snakes.
that was the other thing, those little New Jersey kids, they were like, are there snakes in the creek? I was like, there's snakes and fish and crawdaddies. Crawdaddies are
Oh,
the
we
best.
I love
whenever
catching
we
'em.
camp, we catch crawdads and cook them.
Yeah, you cook them?
They cook them and eat them.
We
What do they taste like? No, tell me chicken.
Kind of like shrimp, I guess.
Shrimp?
A little.
Yeah.
We like to do crawfish boil. We get hot dogs and potatoes, and then we boil the crawfish, and then we just eat them.
Yeah.
It's
You get
fun.
onions, hamburgers. Yeah. It's real
It's
nice.
all, anything you eat outside is always a good thing.
And to me, it's sad that most children don't know how to. They don't have that experience anymore. They
And it's
don't.
like, I drag my daughter with me, bless her,
Exactly.
everywhere. She looks like she's having so much fun right now. It's like, but she didn't realize it's like, like she has the opportunity to like listen to these conversations and be at these different places and meet different people. It's like, we don't particularly have a big garden or farm too much anymore because it's just her and I, but you still got to know what's going on.
Exactly.
So I really appreciate you letting us come to visit.
Thank you.
And we'll get a shot of the sign outside so when people come to Robertson County and they want to know where to eat, it's like, that ain't Kroger's. But we're going to send them down here and introduce them to Frank.
We will.
So how do they find you on Facebook?
Amy Corbin or Corbin Creek Greenhouse,
Springfield, Tennessee.
Springfield, Tennessee.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.